There we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I guess I will kick it off with who I am, how I'm related to the mentorship program, and let's have the first question just sort of be what excites you the most about the mentorship program, even as a guest speaker, as a mentor, as a mentee, as a potential participant, as someone who's done curriculum writing or presenting. Just share a little bit about your role as it relates to the program and what excites you the most about it. So I'm Maddie. I'm one of the founders of Insight. I'm the current executive director. Most of you know me. And what really excites me about the mentorship program is the co-learning. I think that our co-learning model is amazing, and I appreciate that we've done this program. This is going to be like our fifth or sixth time running the program. And every time I learn not just something, like I learn many, many, many things. I have stacks and stacks of notes that I've taken all throughout the program of amazing perspectives and context examples and case studies and beautiful creative reflections, just incredible things that people have brought to the program. And I love how we really try not to have a lot of hierarchy when it comes to our program. So whether you are a board member or the executive director at the organization or someone who's just participating for the first time and doesn't know very much about Insight or about what we do, we're all equal and we all have something valuable to share and to contribute. And I love that people do tend to share and contribute quite openly, especially after the program gets underway. And so those are probably my favorite things about the program. And oh, here comes Carol. Once Carol's connected to audio, I'll just give another little spiel here. And I see we're active in the chat. Wonderful. Good morning, Carol. I hope you can hear us okay. We are just doing a quick round of introductions as to how we are related to the program, and we're having people share what some of their favorite things about the program are, whether they participated or are just someone who's marginally involved or a potential prospect to be in the program. And we have people talking about snacks in the chat, which is even better. I'm here for that. We love food. Food is love. Food is collective wellness. Okay, I'm going to nominate the next person on my screen, who is Pedro. Go ahead, Pedro.
Thank you. My name is Pedro, and I was once a mentee. I was twice a mentor. So yeah, I've seen both sides, and it's very different every time, even as a mentor. So that has been really interesting to be even a mentor twice. I was a mentor twice, right? Like those past 2 years in my mind, just like anyway. And yeah, it's just always a different experience in all aspects, like the whole dynamics, the whole learning, everything is always very interesting and you learn a lot. And I would say that my favorite part of it is, I guess that's kind of like an expected answer, but or maybe expected if you're like an inside, it's been a while, but I'm really excited that we always get to talk about food in the end. And I'm always just expecting when is someone going to mention food. Um, yeah, and we have very lively discussions about food, believe it or not. It always boils down, badunts, to food. Um, and I will nominate Bill because I don't know you.
Thank you, Pedro. I'm so glad to meet you and everybody else who's here. Um, I'm Bill Meyer. I am in the unceded territory of the Occoquan, also known as Juneau, Alaska. Um, I'm the executive director of the EMA Foundation, which has the incredible honor and pleasure of accompanying Insight in their spectacular work. In all things mentorship related and otherwise. I have been a guest speaker in the program and have just kind of gotten to kind of watch and wonder through a couple of cohorts. What excites me about the program is everything, frankly. I mean, and it's same with Insight. I mean, I think Insight is such a unique resource in this field. There is nobody else who is trying to help people. Well, I mean, there might be people trying to help people, but no one is doing what Insight is doing, offering a program like this and offering resources for people who want to understand how to get into humanitarian work. And that is um, so valuable and I think so important, particularly moving forward. So super excited to be here and also just have adored everybody who I've met and had contact with through Insight. So it seems to draw pretty outstanding people. Yay! And I will throw it to Priyanka.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Priyanka. I have been a mentee, a mentor, and now I'm the board chair. All of this in 1 year. So that was my 2024, and pretty exciting. I I think when I started off the mentorship program, I fell in love with the application process, because that was the first time no one asked me for my resume. And I had to just answer a bunch of questions. I was so confused. But it was a good thing. And so that was the first thing that I really liked about the program, because it didn't matter where you are from, what you have done in the past. It's about how you answer those questions, and so basically trying to look for intention. um, and during the program, like as a mentee and as a mentor, I just the amount of people I have met and heard from in the past year is just amazing, and from like all parts of the world. So I think that is the most exciting thing. Like I'm really looking forward to the next year's program for as a mentor. I think I am a mentor. Anyway, yeah. And because I'll just meet more people and hear from them. So I think it's just been amazing. Um, and I will pass it to Anna.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. I've done a lot of things with Inside Collaborative. I joined the mentorship program in 2023, the 6-week program during summer. And I loved it so much. I'm gonna tell you in a bit why. And after that, I was like, I have to find an opportunity to like keep being with these people and learning from them and working with them. And I was lucky enough to get internship training position with them. I did that for about a year. And yeah, I just learned so many things about how a nonprofit works and what are the challenges and what are the rewards. And yeah, now I'm taking over the English mentorship program, which I'm very excited about. And for me, what was amazing about the mentorship was that apart from the community, that this is very important, like a community of people that we can talk about what is going on in the world, about all the people that have to forcibly displaced, and how do we feel about that, what we can do about that, what's wrong with that, and just express all of this I don't know, frustration many times with what's going on. And for me it was also very important that I learned about my own biases. So just like as a person coming from Greece, which is a very religious country and in many ways very close-minded, it was very important to learn about my own biases and starting seeing things from another perspective. So I think that was the most important. And after that, there was a lot of critical thinking on what I see, what I read, and there is no going back after that. And I really like that. And I'm gonna pass to Saras.
Hello. I think I've met most of you, but my name is Saras. I've been with Insight since the pandemic in 2020 when my roommate dared me to apply to the program. And I was like, what even is this? because she was like, if I apply, can you apply with me? And I was like, only if you take out the trash for the next month because I don't even know what this is. So she did my taking out the trash chore for a while. So I was like, all right, I gotta do it. I literally applied a week before the applications closed. But it kind of just snowballed from there. So after being a mentee, in I think it was the first iteration of the program, right? The most chaotic one. I got to really see the way that the curriculum have grown and developed since. And I really truly believe that it's like a living, breathing document where people's life experiences and growth is really reflected in the curriculum. So all our displaced friends and colleagues and people who've been working in the front lines or working in headquarters, they all kind of mash all their experiences together. And that is what it's weaved throughout the curriculum, which I think makes it like alive. It's not just a static, you know, theory framework thing, but it's like it's a guide for real life emotions and feelings that will come up when you hit barriers in this line of work. So I like that it's very applicable, even in like the many contexts that you're not familiar with. It's like, oh, I know this feeling, I just don't know the name for it. And once you get it, you're like, oh man, wow. um, but I think one thing that I really like about this program is nothing is graded. That's like a big thing. I had a lot of anxiety in school in like formal education where I'm like, oh no, if I say I don't know, I'm gonna get the worst marks. So like I get so afraid to ask stupid questions that I just kind of like struggle by myself. But in a program like this where you're just encouraged to just reflect as a human being from a point of just it's okay to say I don't know, we're exploring it together. So the program is not telling you what things are, it's like showing you alternative viewpoints, and it's like take it or leave it, take what makes sense, ignore what doesn't. And if it doesn't make sense, maybe explore it. See if it matches into like the line of work you're doing. Um, so I like that element of, you know, learning as you go, making mistakes, and being vulnerable, because I've had a lot of really vulnerable conversations in my focus group discussions when I was mentoring, and people shared like really, really personal things that no one in their life knows, but like it's easier to open up to a group of strangers online. um, and in a way, those sessions were like very therapeutic. And they're a good reminder that humanity's not dead, especially in a profession like ours. It's a really great way of humanizing humanitarian work, because I hate separating like the professional side with the personal side. I just want to show up as myself. Like I do serious work, yes, but also I'm a human being who suffers negative emotions, and it like spills over my work and it impacts me a lot. So what can I do to like deal with it in a healthy way? um, but yeah, that's it. I ramble a lot. I'm sorry. It's the oranges. But
You did also forget to tell us that you're now the COO after
oh
starting as a mentee in the first
yeah.
ever program and then just worked your way up to that, well, across since we are non-hierarchical, but
I just shimmied across. I forgot about that. Good point. Yes. But yeah, I'll pop it over to Damai. Oh, Damai, can you hear me?
Sorry, I don't hear you. Sorry,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, I just popped it over to you if you wanted to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sarah. Okay, my name is Damai. I'm Indonesian, but currently since September I am in Rome for studying about safeguarding in Gregoriana University. It's owned by Jesuit. Mm, for actually I was the participant, yeah, the mentee, yeah, not the mentor, the mentee. I think it was last year, right? And I supposed to work for the module, but at the time I was hectic. Sorry about that. Yeah, I still want to connect with inside collaboration. I think this is good, not networking. I mean warm networking. I like that. And yeah, I want to expand my networking and also learn from all of you. So this is a space that we can learn. That's why I try to connect with you again. Thank you.
And we're so glad you're here with us.
Yeah, I want to sorry. I want to ask Carol. Hi, Carol. Thank you, Saras.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, figured that out. Good morning, everyone. I've met some of you, not all of you. I'm Carol Perry, and let's see, I've been following Maddie ever since I think, well, her high school days a bit, but then when she ventured off to Greece and was taking on this humanitarian work, I was just so impressed with her courage and her ability to communicate back what she was experiencing. And so I've kind of been following ever since. And our family has been where we can trying to support her work. And that led to our Noelle, our youngest, who's now junior at university. She was in, I believe, the first cohort as well of this program. So I've, you know, been learning about it somewhat vicariously, but thought when this opportunity came up to really hear from some of you who have done the program, just eager to learn more about your experiences and what it's meant to you. And we hope to continue to support the good work that Insight is doing. So I'll keep mine brief.
Thank you, Carol. Lovely to have you here. And I think the only person we haven't heard from, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, is it Anamic? Anamic?
Yes,
If you
that's
want to
me.
share, you're
Yeah.
welcome to.
Yes. Yeah, so actually yesterday was the first time I heard about the Insight Initiative because I saw Anna's message on the Effective Altruism Forum. I started reading on the website and I saw this meeting, so I thought, let's see what's going on. I'm currently taking a sabbatical. I've worked as a consultant in healthcare, but I wanted to change towards a more impactful career. So I'm doing that now for 5 months. And I came to Sub-Saharan Africa because I felt like before I want to work in this global health or humanitarian sector, I want to understand the culture, the people, how life is around here. And that felt that it resonated with the Insight program, but I'm not sure yet because I haven't like properly read through everything. So yeah, I'm curious to hear more about the program and to see if it might be a fit for me in this period of my like career change thing that's going on.
Amazing. Well, welcome. Thank you for sharing. Congratulations on the sabbatical. That's such an important life step. There's so many people that just hem and haw about taking time to transition and figure out something else and move in a new direction. So I'm always glad when people actually do it. So congrats. We would love to have you in the program.
Thanks. Thanks. It's true that it's been a wonderful decision. It's learned me a lot already. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I first want to start by saying thank you everyone for sharing, because this is a group of near strangers, and most people came on here and shared something just very wonderfully personal, and that, in my opinion, really captures the essence of the program. For those who have participated, sort of know that we just bring a group of strangers together, and then everyone starts sharing, and it just snowballs from there into this awesome thing. But the next question that I want to pose, this is probably more appropriate for past participants. But if anyone else has thoughts, please feel free to share. I am interested in hearing about what the best, most favorite nugget that you learned from the mentorship program. So for people like Stardust, you got to go way back into the archives there. But I think most people who are prospective participants are probably very interested in hearing about, what kinds of things am I going to learn in the mentorship program. So let's kick it off with Anna. Would you mind sharing what your favorite thing that you learned in the program is?
Yeah, I would love to share. So there are many things, but I'm just gonna mention the ones that when I learned them in 2023, I was just not shocked, but like I was like, that makes sense. Like, so one thing that it's in the beginning of the program, towards the beginning of the program, is how the words we use they shape the way that we understand situations. So using specific words, a situation can look very positive, or it can look dangerous and threatening. So just choosing the words to describe a situation, they're very, very important. I think the use of language is it's just very significant, and we don't notice because again we have our own biases, so we use language that someone else kind of taught us to use, especially in the topic of humanitarianism and forced displacement. Another thing is also I was kind of shocked about exploitative marketing, which for some people it might be like, many people may be knowing it, but I was shocked. I was like, this is not right. And now I see campaigns from very big NGOs, and I'm like, I can't believe that this is the words they use to describe an issue, or this is the image they use to collect funds. And I'm shocked. I don't know how, because I'm sure they know this is not right. I cannot imagine that they don't know. They just choose to collect funds and express their work in a very unethical and unsustainable way. And then talking about, because before I mentioned bias, the savior complex, I think it's very important to recognize that we have it. And somehow I was raised like, I had this unconscious thought that I'm better than someone else, and I know more of someone else that was less, that it was born in a country that it's like I don't know, a bit poorer, and then they need my help because I'm in a country that it's like a bit wealthier. Like this very like weird mentality that it was inside me, but I didn't even know that was a thing, and that doesn't really make any sense. So I think these things were very important to me to realize, and many of them I still have them because they're just automatic thoughts. But now I recognize them, and I know, okay, that's actually not the case. My brain's just programmed to think like this, and it slowly gets better. I think these are some of my favorite things I learned.
Would anybody like to volunteer to go next? I don't want to like force this out of people.
I can go.
Thank you, Pedro.
Yep. Kind of following up on what Anna just shared, I think one of the, I think it was like right in the beginning, just by reading the material and also just being in the sessions and kind of like getting to discuss what we're reading about and what we are observing, what we have observed, what some people felt themselves. I guess one of the most striking things for me was just maybe some discomfort or like weird feeling or something that I could not name before. Oh, now I have a word for that, an expression, or even a framework to kind of like understand what the dynamics are here. And, as human, the human brain works, it's just really way easier to understand things and go about things when you can, put them in a box and kind of like categorize things. Yes, systems identification, for example. So for me, that was kind of like the game changer that I could really name, but also go from there. It's not just about like pointing a finger, saying an expression or a word and like blah, 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 but actually understanding what's happening, what's the name that we can give to it, and where do we go from here? How do we do better? How do we overcome this? How do we work together to prevent this or, you know, so yeah, in simple terms, that was it. So it was kind of like a lot of new vocabulary, which is always very useful. And yeah, always happy to learn new words and expressions. Who's next?
I can go. But I feel like my perspective is more from what it's like to write, revise the curriculum. That's what I remember because I have a memory of a goldfish, and the fact that I still remember the last 2 years, insane. But anyway, um, I think what's really important is, this kind of intersectional approach to humanitarian work, because a lot of the theory and concepts I've never heard because I don't come from the medical, sector. My background's in social entrepreneurship and peace building. So anything like medical or financial or like, those STEMmy fields, not for me. But working in a team of people who do come from those backgrounds, it's always interesting to have these conversations of, okay, well, how would you apply this theory that was invented for that field in different contexts? So, like, an example is this idea of social determinants of health. And I was like, okay, I know what a political determinant is, but that's like more for social inequality, like stuff. And then Maddie came up with, like, okay, why don't we introduce the social political determinants of health, but, talking about forced displacement as a disease or a sickness, and it's like the system is making you sick. The individual is not the disease, but it's the system. And, like just using analogies like that. And this concept of social determinants of health was something that was really new to me. And it was so complicated until I found like that diagram that we included in the curriculum of, the river, the front downstream side and the upstream side. And usually, when international orgs and governments intervene in humanitarian crises, they only see one side. They only see, what is happening downstream. And so they only respond to patch up the holes as they see it. But they don't go up the stream to see, oh, the reason why this crisis is happening is because, in the analogy, people keep falling in the water. And all they do downstream is throw life vests at the people drowning. But if they were walked up upstream, they would see that the reason people keep falling in the river is because the bridge collapsed. So if you were to think forward, right, it's like, how can we rebuild that bridge so people won't fall down rather than waste resources throwing life vests and then missing, like people falling through the cracks because there's so many going through. And unfortunately, that is the response of a lot of humanitarian organizations. It's just responding to the end line. Um, And it's helped me a lot to think about strategies for collaboration and working with people who are along different parts of the stream. Um, so that's just like an example of a concept where I was like, whoa, dang, that's new. Um, yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything to add to that.
I just want to, I mean, this is so emblematic of why Insight is such a valuable resource because it's a place where conversations like this happen and it brings together the value of finding your people, if these are things you're thinking about, and getting into community like this one, which is so powerful and so global and, just continues to grow, is just extraordinary. And I mean, yeah, I really feel like Insight is on the leading edge of conversations about how to build new systems. How do we repair the bridges rather than throw life jackets? And it just, yeah, I so appreciate the community that you've built and continue to build because I think for people who are looking for ways to get involved, it's just invaluable.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
And Sarah and Pedro. Go ahead, Priyanka.
If there's time, I can add. Yeah.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. So for me, like two things came to my mind. One is what has already been talked about, how we use words. I mean, I come from, like, I have had some sort of education when it comes to refugees and migrants. But I think at no point I've thought about refugee crisis as a term that means so many things. Most of it can be problematic, and so I think I did not learn that in the formal education system, and being exposed to the how words can impact how the world looks at certain populations or certain issues was really important. I don't think I have it in my vocabulary completely, but at least I always catch myself and think about it, and I also share it with my friends that, oh, we cannot say crisis. I still am learning, but at least there is a pause now. And the second thing that I found useful was a wellness component. I think, again, in humanitarian field, like, I have worked with NGOs in the past, and at no point did we ever, even within my friends or anything, I talked about how I am feeling, how I am doing, how is this impacting me. So just being, I think, learning that it is okay to talk about your own well-being uh, was really important. And in the past year, I have been talking about it more with my friends. So, yeah.
Does anyone else want to share anything that they learned from the program before we move on to the next question? If something comes up and you want to add later, we can also always revisit questions. This is a conversation, not a moderated debate. So feel free to add it later in the chat or raise your hand. Or if someone says something and you're like, oh yeah, that, feel free to tag on to what other people are talking about as well. Okay, so I want us to end with one more question and then open the floor to any other last comments or question answers to try to keep us at the hour here. And so consider yourself speaking to someone who's maybe a prospective participant or someone who's interested in the program, or at least the topic kind of sparked a little bit of curiosity. But I want to hear from everyone about why you think the mentorship program is important. Considering your context, the global context, your personal context, whatever you feel like sharing, why is this program important? Would anyone like?
I want to share, yeah.
Perfect. Go ahead, Demai.
Yeah, this program is important because we tackle the issue like Thank you, Anna. About anti-colonial way, yeah. This is very, very foundation, I think, because I have been working in the NGO sector also, so I know how racism is still there also. Okay, into the table. So this is very, very important, I think. So this is the thing that I like about the program, and also I think I forget, sorry, but someone already talked about how the NGO still use about the media, which is like to exploit, right? So this is also important thing, I think. So we have to looking for this. And the third one is about well-being or self-care. I think we already know that 2018 there were two staff of Amnesty International, they commit suicide. At least one is in the office, yeah, in the Paris office, yeah. So I think this we need to bring this kind of issue also, I think, because if I talk about this, they will say, oh, why do you talk about the dark things? But I think we have to talk about this so we don't do that kind of things again. I think this is very important. So I think we need to move on, to open the areas that not really talk, but it is important. Thank you.
And Demai, you cut out for the first point that you made. Would you mind sharing that again? You can either unmute yourself and share again or share in the chat. Just the first. We got the last two, but the first one we missed.
Yeah, I think I talk about anti-colonial because in we feel it if we work in the international NGO, we feel it. And the way the international staff treated the national staff, we feel it. So I think these things we need to open up also to discuss honestly, yeah, with responsibility. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was such an important point. I'm glad we heard that. Would anyone like to share next? I'll pop in the chat actually what we're talking about in case we lose track. Why do you think that the mentorship program is important?
I can share. Basically, I think in the past some time I have been listening, I have been coming across mentorship programs in general, not just inside. It's not a lot, but it's out there. I think if we even don't look at what we are learning or what the um, cause is, in general, I feel it is a good 10 weeks or 6 weeks spent, whether you're in the beginning or middle or towards later part of your career. I feel it's a great place to come together, sometimes learn new things, sometimes just have a space to exchange ideas and also network, meet people, see what else is out there in the world. So I feel it takes you away from the traditional educational form of learning, like trying to get a certificate or trying to get a degree. But it's uh, a good, I don't know if there is a term to it. I don't want to call it a side thing because it's not, but it's important whether you're working or not. So, yeah.
Maybe I can share why it was important for me when I started the program. Um, so like my interest in forced displacement and humanitarianism started when the um, about when the Syrian war started, and there were many people coming from Syria to Greece. So it was like a very hot topic, etc. And at that point, I was just feeling very like small into this very big problem, which it was just heartbreaking to know what's going on and um, how the situation is in the camps and what people have to go through. That people will not maybe they will never make uh, the journey to the camp, etc. So I was like, okay, I was thinking, what is the way to what can I do about like this feeling? And I was like, okay, I think the only way is to start learning about how all of these things are working. So being part of the mentorship made me feel a bit less uh, small in front of all of this situation, and also seeing that there are a lot of other people who actually care and they give a fuck about what's going on. I think for me that was very important, and there are many times that I feel very very small, um, but the mentorship like made me feel like there are many bright intelligent people who care, and they also have the capabilities to like change things. I think that's very important. Like there are people that are very capable in this team, either in the executive team, either they're mentees, it doesn't matter, but there are many people with uh the skills to change things, and like giving so much of their time, like not teaching but like co-learning with others and just spreading the word about what's going on and what are the problems and what can we do to move on. Yeah.
I will also add the besides it being this great place to learn in not exactly the form of learning we were taught in formal educational systems to have, perform, etc. It's also really interesting how you can find connection there. So as a mentee, as a mentor, I can speak for myself that it's very therapeutical. Every week you're kind of like looking forward to the next session. You want to, talk to those people, connect with them. You are genuinely interested in hearing what did you find about this? I really want to hear specifically what this person has to say about this topic today. And also, I would say one of the most valuable things is how you can pop the bubble. You will meet and connect with people from so many different backgrounds that I think this is, one of the things that is really, really important that everyone should be doing, popping the bubble. Yeah, you're kind of like here constructing another bubble in a certain form, but you're like at least popping one to build another. Don't know if that makes sense, but definitely go for it. Especially those who are thinking, should I do it? If you're wondering, you should do it. Because I was wondering, and I applied on the last hours, and I got accepted, became a mentee, became a mentor, and the journey continues. And yeah, go for it.
And now you're a board member. Look at you go.
That is true.
Mentor and board member. I just wanted to jump in and sort of tie what Pedro said to a question that was posed in the chat about addressing the anti-colonial attitude in the program. And I think, Pedro, what you said about this being sort of a alternative form of education, like a different way of viewing education programs. Something that we talk about a lot in the program is how colonialism is present in places and ways that we don't always intuitively consider, where it could be easy to look at like militarism and occupation and racism and be like, oh, yes, that is colonialism. But what about the ways that colonial shows up in education? Even the ways that traditional education structures are steeped in hierarchy. And most systems of hierarchy stem from colonial systems of power and needing to hold and maintain power in certain ways. And so our entire approach to education as a knowledge sharing and co-learning experience, rather than you're going to sit here and listen to what those of us who are the experts have to say. It's very much like, hey guys, here's something we've noticed. What do you all think about this? And it's a more collective way of approaching not just problem identifying, so being like, yeah, we all see this problem and agree on it, but a more collective way of saying, and what's the way out here? How would we like to reshape the world that we are existing in rather than just finding a short-term solution to this problem that everyone can agree on? How would we like to imagine a world beyond simply solving that one problem? How is it connected to other problems? How is it connected in us? Let us put in the chat, how is this affecting us within our own bodies? Our entire first week talks a lot about colonialism, so identifying it, naming it. Pedro also mentioned those sort of, naming those feelings that you couldn't name before, but were definitely present. A lot of people have shared having those kinds of big aha moments in the program. And I will also say that the mentorship program for me has become the program started and has turned into everything that I wished I had known and the information I had had access to before I had went into the humanitarian sector, like so young and naive, thinking I was going to be able to save the world and make a difference, and then just got squashed, probably caused a lot of harm to other people as well as a lot of harm to myself. Experienced clinical burnout to the point where it almost killed me. And these are all experiences that I don't want other people to have to go through themselves to figure out. And we don't talk about this in traditional education systems or even in conversations with other people. This is not a side of the humanitarian activist nonprofit space that we talk about. Even just being a conscientious witness is a very stressful and exhausting experience, as I'm sure we all know at this point in technology. And so I think that's probably one of the most important things about the program is that it really does prepare people, whether you are a frontline humanitarian who's going and working in these really stressful and intense situations, or someone who's just like, I want to know how to be able to scroll through Instagram and cope a little better and know how to place myself in an ecosystem of potentially making a difference to all of these issues that I'm seeing, whether it's from my living room or at a global scale. We talk about that and have somehow, I don't know, this just happened. So I appreciate everyone who's worked on the program and written the curriculum, but like somehow have created a program that actually is appropriate for all of those things and all of those people, whether you are an armchair activist, so-called. I call myself that these days because I don't get out much, but I still feel like I can play a meaningful role from my house, or those who are on the front lines having to go through this type of stuff face to face every day. We've somehow managed to create a curriculum and a program that's meaningful and impactful and useful for everyone on that spectrum, which I think is really cool. And great question, Anamik. Thank you for asking that. Does anyone else have anything else to share about why the program is important before we end with any closing questions? I think it's also worth emphasizing too the wellness component that Priyanka talked about. Having experienced burnout myself, having seen a lot of my own colleagues and dear friends, and people from affected communities have a really hard time dealing with the amount of injustice and psychiatric pain that we witness and experience ourselves every single day when we enter these types of spaces. The wellness component and giving people space to say, like, I am struggling, or I would like to be able to cope with this better. I need more tools in my toolbox. And taking it from an anti-colonial lens of rather saying like, oh yeah, it's self-care. You just need to do a better job of self-care, recognizing that you cannot self-care yourself out of a system that is causing that harm. There's really just no way. What that is victim blaming and victim shaming, and that's not okay. And that's a tool of white supremacist, capitalist, individualist, patriarchal thinking. And that we talk about ways to care for ourselves individually and collectively, and how we can share not just our grief, but also our joy. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the program and why we choose to end on that note. I tell all the participants, if you're only going to remember one thing from this program, if Men in Black come up to you and say, okay, we're going to wipe your memory, but you can choose one to keep, let it be the wellness stuff, because I think that's what will serve you no matter what arena you are in, no matter what you decide to pursue with your career, with your life. Knowing how to cultivate those wellness spaces for yourself and for other people is just so important. And it's so feel good. And that's where we talk about food and we talk about all the fun things that people like to do. And people share their pets and their crafts and their family members. And it's like the coolest thing. That's my favorite way to end the program. And so I think that is also just a vitally important thing that we talk about. And it's absolutely wonderful and delightful.
You should talk about the art-based component.
Yeah, and I guess that does tie into to sort of the anti-colonial. So something that has bothered me and sad us for a very long time is how credible methods of research and credible methods of therapy always have to be very like quantitative, science-based. And not only does that make them quite unaccessible, but actually kind of like not suitable or appropriate or helpful. And it eliminates a lot of perspectives from people who maybe aren't literate or who don't know how to speak the language of academia. And so our midterm project is a creative project. Raise your hand if you loved doing your creative project while you were in the program. I also do one every year to show as an example. I love getting to do a creative project. We ask people to do a creative reflection of what they have learned so far in the program. And it is so cool to see all of the amazing talents that people have, but also remembering that making silly little crafts is just such a human thing to do. And it's so good for us to do things that are tangible and so good for us to do things to create things that are beautiful. And to get to share those with other people is amazing. Yes, there's like a vibrancy to it. And people, yeah, I delight in what people create and share. And we also talk about arts-based research methodologies as well. So sort of asking people to give us a narrative and a story and a creation with what they're presenting to us. And it's so much fun and it's so delightful. Do you have anything to add, Saras? Cool. So yeah, come and join us to make art. We're also doing a crafts and collective wellness session later in the month. So I will be sharing that. It's on our social media. It's in our link tree, but that is open to anyone and everyone, whether you participated with us in the past or not. We're just going to get together for an hour and make crafts and meet other people and talk about what we're struggling with and what's giving us joy all together. No crafting experience is necessary either. Maybe you'll find someone who can teach you a new craft too. Amazing. Any last questions? Did I miss anything? Did we miss anything? Since we have 3 more minutes, maybe just a note too on the way the program is structured. We have structured the program quite intentionally to make it as accessible as possible. There's always sort of a balance between, obviously we want to have as much face-to-face, screen-to-screen contact time as possible because that's where these connections and these amazing conversations that people speak so highly of, like that is where those happen. But it's also hard with everyone having their busy lives and having other commitments to make those possible. So the only required face-to-face time, screen-to-screen time, is the hour-long focus group meeting every week. And there's a couple of different times that are available, so you can pick the time that works best for you. If you miss a focus group, there are ample opportunities to make up that missed group. But everything else is largely asynchronous. You can participate in things live as it fits your schedule and as it interests you. So if you join the program and you're like, oh my goodness, coming to the lecture session, which is not really, we call it a lecture. It's not really a lecture. It's more like it's much more engaging than a lecture. It's a lot of fun. If you're like, this is so much fun and this gives me life and this is now my favorite part of my week, I'm going to restructure my whole schedule around that. You are welcome to, but you are not obligated to. They are recorded. All of the information that you need is shared at a later time. Our guest speakers, all of those are recorded and shared with participants. So the only thing that people have to attend live is the focus group meeting. And that we've found makes it a lot more accessible for people with very busy schedules, very busy lives, or those who maybe their internet connectivity is not reliable and it's like, well, I can access the internet at 10 p.m. or in the middle of the night to download the material, and then the rest of the time I can't access it. It still opens up opportunities for people to participate with the difference in time zones and connectivity issues. So I think that part is really cool. And this year we're going to be using Moodle, thanks to the amazing work of Sed at EMA Foundation for putting that together. Sed has been amazing in creating that platform for us, and we're hoping it's going to have like a forum now so that we have even more ways to engage asynchronously and offline with people who are not in your focus group. And we're hoping that that just opens up so many new ways to make amazing new friends and connections, and to keep the program as accessible as possible to folks from all different backgrounds and levels of internet bandwidth, because that is a thing we must think about in the year 2024, almost 2025. Isn't that crazy, you guys? We started this program almost 5 years ago. That's wild. That is wild. Okay. If no one has any other thoughts, then we can bring this to a close. Thank you all so very much. I do love this part of my job, getting to talk to all of you and hear, and thank you all so much for sharing such personal things about what you experienced in the program and for coming on today. So good to see you all. Good to see you, Demai.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with your program.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Sarah.